There are some celebrity stories that begin with a photograph, some begin with a strange coincidence, and some begin with a single social media detail that makes millions of people stop scrolling and ask the same question: what exactly is going on here? And when the names Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi appear in the same conversation, the internet knows exactly how quickly a simple moment can become a global mystery.
Now imagine this.
A tropical island, warm evening air, quiet roads surrounded by palm trees, luxury resorts hidden behind walls of greenery, two famous Chinese stars living their lives away from the noise of television cameras, and then suddenly, social media begins connecting tiny details that appear unrelated. A location, a photograph, a familiar-looking background, a timing that seems strangely close, a holiday atmosphere, a post that disappears into the endless stream of celebrity updates, only to be noticed hours later by an eagle-eyed fan. Then another clue appears, and another. Before long, thousands of fans are asking whether Bali was simply another beautiful destination, or whether there was something about the trip that deserved a much closer look. But before you decide what these clues mean, stay with this story until the end, because the most fascinating part is not the rumor itself. It is the way fans piece together fragments of information and transform ordinary social media activity into an extraordinary mystery. And if you love kdrama stories, celebrity mysteries, hidden details, and the fascinating world behind the scenes, make sure you stay until the very end, because this is where the line between coincidence, interpretation, and genuine evidence becomes incredibly important. The Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi story has already captured enormous attention because their chemistry and love like the galaxy became one of the most memorable pairings in modern Chinese drama. Their performances created a connection that felt unusually natural. Their characters seemed to understand one another without needing many words. A glance could communicate an entire conversation. A pause could feel more meaningful than a long speech. A smile could suddenly change the atmosphere of an entire scene. That chemistry became so powerful that fans created their own name for the pairing, Wu Lu Ke Tao, a playful phrase associated with the idea of no way to escape. The popularity of the pairing was not simply created by the drama itself. Fans followed behind-the-scenes moments. They watched interviews. They studied promotional appearances. They replayed funny interactions. They compared photographs. They noticed how the two reacted when standing near each other. And over time, the fictional romance began creating a much larger conversation about the real people behind the characters. That is where social media becomes fascinating, because social media rarely gives people a complete story. It gives fragments. A photograph here, a video there, a caption, a location,
A date.
a background, a piece of clothing, a particular object. Sometimes none of those things mean anything, but when fans place them beside other pieces of information, an entirely different narrative can appear. And Bali became especially intriguing because the island itself carries an atmosphere that naturally encourages speculation. Bali is famous for its beaches, private villas, luxury hotels, tropical landscapes, sunsets, restaurants, and secluded retreats. For celebrities, it can provide something extremely valuable: privacy. A person can move from a busy city environment into a completely different world where photographs become harder to capture and ordinary moments can feel like something from a movie. That makes any celebrity appearance in Bali immediately interesting. But there is an important distinction. A social media clue is not automatically proof of a private relationship. A matching background does not automatically mean two people were together. Similar travel dates do not automatically establish that two celebrities traveled together. And fan theories, no matter how convincing they may appear, remain theories unless supported by reliable evidence or an official statement. That distinction is essential when discussing Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi. There are numerous online claims and fan discussions surrounding the pair, but the existence of speculation should never be confused with confirmation. In fact, one of the most interesting parts of this entire story is precisely the absence of a confirmed romantic announcement. Recent online reports have again revived interest in the pair, including claims involving social media posts and supposed romantic hints, but Reports have also acknowledged that neither Wu Lei nor Zhao Lusi has officially confirmed that they are romantically involved. So, instead of pretending that rumors are facts, let's examine why these clues become so fascinating in the first place. The first mystery is the timing. Timing is one of the most powerful tools used by online fandoms. Suppose one celebrity posts a photograph from a tropical location. Then, sometime around the same period, another celebrity shares an image featuring a similar atmosphere. Fans immediately begin comparing them. Was the sky similar? Was the architecture similar? Was the lighting similar? Was the furniture similar? Was the ocean visible from the same direction? Was there a particular plant or decorative feature in the background? Was the photograph taken around the same time of day? None of these details proves anything by itself. But social media investigators rarely examine them individually. They create timelines. That is when the mystery becomes much more complicated. Imagine a fan sitting late at night with two phones open. On one screen is Zhao Lusi. On the other is Wu Lei. The fan scrolls backward.
August, July,
June,
May.
older photographs, older stories, archived posts, videos, comments. Suddenly, a photograph appears. The fan pauses. The background looks familiar. They open another photograph. Then another. The comparison begins. A wall, a window, a chair, a resort-style lamp, a wooden structure, a tropical garden. Suddenly, something that seemed completely ordinary becomes the center of an investigation. This is how modern celebrity mysteries are born. Not necessarily from dramatic revelations. Sometimes they begin with something as simple as a background. But there is another fascinating layer. The human brain is naturally designed to search for patterns. When people already believe that two celebrities have chemistry, they are more likely to notice similarities between them. This is sometimes called confirmation bias. If a fan believes Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi secretly spent time together in Bali, then a photograph showing palm trees might look like evidence. But if the same photograph were shown without the celebrity context, millions of people would simply see palm trees. This is why social media investigations can become both fascinating and misleading. The clue may be real. The interpretation may not be. That difference is everything. Then comes the second mystery, the atmosphere. Bali has a very distinctive visual identity. Tropical greenery, ocean views, resort architecture, warm sunlight, swimming pools, wooden furniture, stone walls, open-air restaurants, private villas. Because so many luxury resorts share similar design elements, two unrelated photographs can sometimes look almost identical. A white wall can appear in hundreds of hotels. A palm tree can appear in thousands. A pool can resemble another pool. A sunset can look almost exactly like another sunset. And yet, when the photographs involve two celebrities who already have an enormous fan following, the comparison becomes emotionally charged. The smallest similarity can suddenly become a major discussion. This is especially true for Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi because their screen partnership created such a strong emotional response. Their relationship in Love Like the Galaxy was built around tension, trust, humor, vulnerability, and gradual emotional connection. That made viewers feel invested. When a fictional couple becomes beloved enough, fans sometimes begin looking for traces of that chemistry outside the fictional world. A laugh during an interview can suddenly become important. A glance can become a headline. A shared event can become a trending topic. A social media post can become a puzzle. And a vacation photograph can become a mystery. But there is another reason the Bali conversation is so captivating. Silence. Celebrity silence is powerful. When people do not receive an immediate explanation, the internet fills the empty space. One person creates a theory. Another person adds a photograph. Someone else discovers an old interview. Another fan compares dates. A fifth person creates a video. A sixth person translates it. Within hours, a small observation can become an international discussion. This is how social media works. Information moves faster than verification. The most exciting version of a story often travels first. The correction usually arrives later. Sometimes it never arrives at all. That is why responsible storytelling matters. When discussing Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi, it is possible to explore the mystery without declaring something to be true when it has not been confirmed. And that makes the story even more interesting, because the real question becomes not, are they secretly together? The real question becomes, why are people so fascinated by every possible connection between them? The answer goes back to their work together. Their pairing became memorable because viewers believed in the emotional world they created. The chemistry felt effortless. Their characters had contrasting personalities. One was powerful and controlled. The other was clever, expressive, and emotionally complex. Their interactions moved between humor and seriousness. They could be playful one moment and deeply emotional the next. That contrast made every interaction feel unpredictable. And unpredictability is exactly what keeps audiences watching. When the drama ended, the characters disappeared from the screen. But the emotional connection created by the audience did not disappear. Instead, fans continued looking for traces of that dynamic. This is why behind-the-scenes clips became so important. A moment that lasted only a few seconds could receive enormous attention. A playful exchange, a laugh, a glance, a teasing comment, a moment when one actor helped another, a moment when they appeared comfortable together. Fans could replay these clips again and again. The internet transformed ordinary promotional material into a digital archive of memories. And that archive became the foundation for future speculation. Years later, someone could rediscover an old video and say, look at this. Then another person would say, I never noticed that before. Then another person would connect it to something else. The story would suddenly feel new again. That is one reason Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi remain such a fascinating pairing. Their chemistry was not simply dependent on one scene. It existed across an entire period of promotion and public interaction. Fan communities documented those moments extensively. One fan archive describes how the Wu Lu-ke Tao pairing became associated with their work in The Long Ballad and Love Like the Galaxy, while also collecting numerous behind-the-scenes interactions that fans considered memorable. That history matters because it explains why a new social media clue can still generate excitement years later. The audience already has a story in its mind. Bali simply becomes another chapter. Now imagine the visual. A tropical evening. The sun is dropping behind the horizon. The sky is turning gold. The ocean looks almost unreal. A celebrity posts a photograph. No explanation. No location tag. Just a quiet image. Fans notice the details. Someone zooms into the background. Someone else searches the architecture. Another person compares the furniture. Another person checks the date. Suddenly, thousands of people are looking at the same photograph differently. To one person, it is simply a vacation picture. To another, it is a potential clue. To another, it is nothing more than coincidence. And that disagreement is what keeps the story alive. But there is an even bigger question. Why Bali? Why does the location itself create so much curiosity? Part of the answer is psychological. When celebrities are photographed in familiar cities, there are obvious explanations. They may be attending an event. They may be working. They may be filming. They may be visiting a studio. But a tropical destination feels different. It feels personal. It feels like an escape. It creates the possibility of a private world away from cameras. That does not mean two celebrities who visit the same destination are necessarily together. It simply means the location makes people more curious. Bali has become associated with romance in popular culture. Sunsets, private pools, candlelit dinners, ocean villas, long walks, quiet mornings. Therefore, when two celebrities who already have a beloved romantic pairing are connected to the same destination, the imagination of the audience can become extremely powerful. The mind fills in the missing scenes. But those imagined scenes should remain imagination. That is the boundary responsible entertainment coverage must protect. Now, let us look at another kind of clue. Social media behavior. Sometimes fans examine what celebrities post immediately before or after a suspected trip. They look for changes in posting patterns. Maybe someone becomes unusually quiet. Maybe someone posts more photographs than usual. Maybe a celebrity suddenly shares pictures from nature. Maybe another celebrity uploads something with a similar atmosphere. Fans begin comparing. This can be entertaining, but it is also incredibly unreliable. Celebrities may have photographers, managers, brand schedules, delayed posts, old photographs, and promotional obligations. A photograph posted today might have been taken weeks earlier. A caption might have nothing to do with the image. A location tag might refer to a campaign rather than a private trip. And a missing post might simply mean the celebrity was busy. Therefore, social media timing can suggest a question. It cannot automatically provide an answer. The same applies to clothing. Fans sometimes notice celebrities wearing similar colors or accessories. A white shirt, a dark jacket, a bracelet, a necklace, a pair of sunglasses,
A ring.
a hat. The comparison can become extremely detailed. But fashion trends are global. Celebrities receive products from the same brands. Stylists work with similar references. Luxury brands often dress multiple stars in related collections. Therefore, similar clothing is not necessarily evidence of a relationship. Still, the fascination is understandable. Because when a fan already loves two people as a pairing, every similarity feels meaningful. This is the emotional engine behind celebrity fandom. People do not simply consume entertainment. They participate in it. They build communities. They create edits. They translate interviews. They preserve old videos. They analyze photographs. They debate interpretations. They create nicknames. They remember tiny details that casual viewers completely forget. That is why the Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi story can return again and again. It has an enormous archive of moments. And every new rumor gives fans an excuse to reopen that archive. One particularly interesting feature of their fandom is the way old content can suddenly become relevant again. A video that received attention years ago can suddenly return to social media. A fan might discover a forgotten interview. Another person may translate it. A third person may upload it to another platform. Then someone notices a sentence that seems interesting. The conversation starts again. This is how celebrity stories become cyclical. They do not always move forward. Sometimes they move backward. The internet constantly resurrects old moments. That is why the phrase social media clues is so appropriate. The clues do not necessarily appear at the same time. They can be separated by months or even years. The audience creates the connection later. And this is where the Bali mystery becomes especially cinematic. Imagine opening a digital timeline. At the beginning is their first collaboration, then another project, then love like the galaxy, then promotional appearances, then interviews, then fan edits, then long periods without interaction, then a new social media post, then Bali. Each event becomes another piece of a much larger puzzle. But there is no final image. Not yet. Perhaps there never will be. Because the people who actually know the truth are the people involved. Everyone else is interpreting what they can see publicly. That is the reality of celebrity culture. Fans can observe. Fans can analyze. Fans can speculate. But private lives belong to the individuals themselves. This is why official confirmation remains the strongest standard. And at present, online reports discussing the recent resurgence of Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi relationship rumors have not established an official romantic confirmation from either star. That does not make the story boring. Actually, it makes the story more intriguing. Because now the mystery is not about declaring an answer. It is about understanding why the clues have become so powerful. And perhaps the most powerful clue is not a photograph at all. It is the audience reaction. Whenever Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi are mentioned together, social media attention can rise dramatically. The pairing has a history. The actors have a shared dramatic legacy. Their characters became beloved. Their chemistry became part of C-drama culture. And their fandom created a vocabulary around them. That vocabulary allows fans to instantly understand what another fan means when they mention Wu Lu Ku Tao. It is almost like a secret language. A phrase, a photograph, a particular scene, a familiar gesture, a memory. All of these can communicate an enormous amount to people who have followed the pairing for years. That is why outsiders may look at a social media post and see nothing unusual, while longtime fans immediately notice something. They know the history. They remember the context. They remember the interviews. They remember the promotional events. They remember the behind-the-scenes footage. They have built a mental database. And that database changes how they see new information. Now imagine the most dramatic possible moment. A new photograph appears. The caption is simple. The location is Bali. Nothing else. No romantic message. No second person. No explanation. Within minutes, fans begin commenting. Then someone finds an older photograph. The background looks similar. Another fan notices the date. Someone else discovers that both celebrities had been connected to overseas activities around the same period. The speculation grows. Videos appear. Thumbnails become dramatic. Headlines begin asking questions. People begin saying the clues are finally adding up. But then another fan asks the most important question. Where is the confirmation? And suddenly, the entire conversation changes. That single question is the difference between entertainment analysis and misinformation. It is perfectly reasonable to discuss public clues. It is not reasonable to turn speculation into fact. This distinction becomes especially important with celebrities because rumors can spread internationally within minutes. A statement made in one language can be translated into another. A translated post can be shortened. The shortened version can become a headline. The headline can become a video. The video can receive millions of views. By the time the original context is found, the rumor may already have become accepted as truth by thousands of people. That is why every clue should be treated carefully. The Bali discussion is fascinating precisely because it sits inside this complicated world. There may be real photographs. There may be real social media posts. There may be genuine similarities. There may be genuine fan observations. But the interpretation remains separate from the evidence. That is the key. And perhaps the biggest lesson from the Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi phenomenon is that chemistry can survive long after drama ends. The actors move on. New projects arrive. New characters appear. New promotional campaigns begin. But audiences remember. They remember the way a character looked at another character. They remember the jokes. They remember the emotional scenes. They remember behind-the-scenes laughter. They remember interviews. They remember the excitement of watching the drama when it first aired. Those memories become attached to the actors. So when a new photograph appears years later, the audience does not see only the photograph. They see the entire history behind it. That is why a simple tropical image can suddenly feel like a major event. It is not just Bali. It is Bali plus years of memories. Bali plus love like the galaxy. Bali plus Wu Lu Ke Tao. Bali plus years of fan theories. Bali plus social media. Bali plus the mystery of what happens when cameras are no longer recording. That combination is incredibly powerful. And there is another fascinating question. What happens when neither celebrity responds? Silence can be interpreted in countless ways. Some fans interpret silence as confirmation. Others interpret it as complete indifference. Some believe celebrities simply want privacy. Others believe agencies avoid addressing rumors because responding would make the story bigger. But silence is not proof of any particular explanation. Sometimes silence is simply silence. This is another reason social media mysteries can continue indefinitely. There is no final statement to close the story. Without confirmation or denial, people continue discussing possibilities. One theory replaces another. A new photograph appears. The old theory returns, then disappears again. The cycle repeats. That is the nature of fandom in the digital era. And Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi are particularly suited to this kind of phenomenon because both have enormous visibility and because their shared drama created a relationship that audiences found deeply convincing. Their chemistry was not accidental in the sense that acting requires enormous skill. Actors spend hours rehearsing. Directors shape scenes. Cinematographers choose angles. Editors choose reactions. Music changes emotion. Costumes create atmosphere. Lighting influences mood. All of these elements contribute to what audiences perceive as chemistry. That is why the chemistry between two actors does not automatically reveal their private relationship. It reveals their ability to create believable characters together. And Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi demonstrated that ability extremely well. That may actually be the simplest explanation for why fans continue to connect them. They were convincing. Very convincing. So convincing that the audience did not want the story to end. That is a compliment to their performances. It does not necessarily tell us anything about their private lives. And yet, the mystery remains entertaining. Perhaps that is the secret. The story works because it leaves room for curiosity. It allows viewers to examine the clues while still acknowledging what is unknown. It allows fans to enjoy the chemistry without pretending they have access to private information. It allows the romance of the drama to remain separate from the reality of the actors. And it reminds us that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones without a definitive ending. So when you see another post connecting Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi to Bali, pause for a moment. Look carefully. Ask where the image came from. Check whether the original post exists. Look at the date. Look at the context. Ask whether the location is actually confirmed. Ask whether the two celebrities were genuinely documented together or whether fans simply connected separate posts. And most importantly, ask whether there has been an official statement. Because the internet can create 1,000 theories from one photograph. But one verified fact can change the entire story. That is what makes the mystery so compelling. Not knowing, wondering, comparing,
Questioning.
and waiting. Perhaps the next photograph will explain everything. Perhaps the next interview will answer the question. Perhaps nothing will happen at all. And maybe that is exactly why people will continue watching. Because Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi do not need to make a romantic announcement for their screen chemistry to remain unforgettable. Their characters already created a story that millions of viewers carried with them. Their behind-the-scenes moments created another layer. Their fan community created another. And now social media has created another. Bali simply becomes another mysterious location inside an already fascinating digital story. So the next time you see the words Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi trending together, do not immediately believe the loudest headline. Look deeper. Look at the original post. Look at the timeline. Look at the context. Separate what is confirmed from what is speculation. Because sometimes the real story is not what the internet claims happened. Sometimes the real story is how millions of people became convinced that something might have happened. And that is perhaps the most fascinating mystery of all. The social media clues surrounding Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi are captivating because they exist somewhere between entertainment, memory, fandom, coincidence, and curiosity. There are pieces. There are patterns. There are theories. There are old memories. There are new photographs. There are endless interpretations. But there is still one thing missing. A definitive answer from the people at the center of the story. Until that answer exists, Bali remains a mystery rather than a confirmed romantic chapter. And perhaps that mystery is exactly what keeps people watching. Because in the world of C-drama, sometimes the story does not end when the final episode ends. Sometimes it continues in interviews. Sometimes it continues in behind-the-scenes footage. Sometimes it continues through fan memories. And sometimes, years later, it suddenly reappears through a photograph from a tropical island.
So, what do you think?
Are the Bali connections genuinely meaningful? Or are fans simply seeing patterns because Wu Lei and Zhao Lusi created such unforgettable chemistry together? Which social media clue do you find the most interesting? And if another photograph appears tomorrow that seems to connect the two again, would you believe it immediately? Or would you wait for confirmation? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the hidden details, social media mysteries, unforgettable C-drama pairings, and the stories behind the stars, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the next clue could completely change the conversation.